That's why I was kind of waiting. But yeah, we can start. All right. Well, hello, select board. Good for you. Are you trend setting in the nation on that issue? No? A lot of people have gone to that?
We're in the curve.
80,
Yeah.
it was like 80 other times.
Is that right? I've done that, select board. Yeah, that's nice. Plus it gives it a different spin, doesn't it? Select. You know, you're very select. All right, yeah, we gotta change that next time, right? Okay, all right, so purpose for today. We are going to pick up where we left off, all right? We're going to be prioritizing, but this time in a much more efficient way. Matt, I was having a moment of, what was I thinking? Having them come up with every opportunity and threat they could ever think of. I think that's one of the things that helped us get off timing last time, so I'll own that. So this time, how about if we identify and prioritize two, okay? What you consider the two top opportunities and threats for the rest of the goals that we're going to do, okay? If you recall, last time you did your 3 housing goals. We did the prioritization, the opportunities and threats and broad strategies for 1, okay? So what is left to do is and you did opportunities and threats for the other 2, but we've not prioritized those yet, okay? So that's what we need to do today. We'll be diving into environmental and transportation goals and do the same thing. With your permission, because we still have a lot of ground and I am determined we're going to get the broad strategies by the end of today, I am going to break you into small groups, okay, and do the report out. I think it's the only way we can cover as much ground as we need to. Hi, Dawn. And also, we will prioritize high level broad strategies as well, okay. So even if you come up with only 2 key broad strategies, that's enough. That way you and Chuck and Janet are seeing the model and how we do it. If you want to revisit that and come back to other strategies that are needed, you can do that. Make sense? Okay. And then we're going to just spend a 25-minute working lunch, if it's okay with you, on some ideas that Chuck and Janet want to share as they transition over to this side of the room.
Thanks, Janet.
All right. They have very ambitious.
Sneering, Greg. No sneering today.
Sneering.
No sneering today.
Lunch, Janet.
Oh, yeah, I know. All right, well, maybe we'll let you eat calmly for 5 minutes. Okay, yeah, actually, there's 30 minutes for lunch, that's okay. The first thing I want to check on with you guys is, if you recall, back in the midst of time when we first started this, I think we all agreed that we would try to keep the number of goals that you set for your 3-year plan to between 3 and 5. Do you recall that? Have any recollection of that?
Yeah.
So I'm noticing now you've got 6 goals. Okay, you came up with 3 housing goals. We've got 2 transportation goals, and if we're all agreed that creating a sustainability office by the end of 2018 is a broad strategy, as opposed to a goal in and of itself, I mean that's good news. You only got 1 environmental goal. Okay. So my question to you is, and in your handout, I've done all the goals, so it's right there for your reference, okay? So take a look at this housing goal 1. And also, I am neither recommending or I'm not, I'm just wondering, especially since there did seem to be a little bit of angst at the last meeting when they were really, because those housing goals are ambitious and everybody was kind of feeling that. So I guess my question is to you, do you want to stick with the 3 housing goals? Or do you want to consider pairing this for the 3 years? Everyone got that from their housing goal?
Rational.
Right here. So that you don't have 6 goals, so you don't have too many goals.
Well,
It's in other
because
words-
it's larger than the original number, we can always revise the number.
You can,
Okay.
absolutely. You can still do it. I'm just bringing it to your attention that you've got 6 goals. If that's
But
okay
it's not
with
a
you.
question of putting them, combining them. It's just because the arbitrary.
It's just a lot to do. The number doesn't matter. It kind of does. It's just, there's a lot to do in 3 years, especially with the housing, because you've got 3 separate goals. So it's just something I wanted you to think about. What are your thoughts?
I feel like I understand what you're saying about the too much part, although I think housing is a very top urgent thing. You hear it all the time. And if we don't entirely complete them, that's okay. They're goals and you don't necessarily entirely complete them within your timeframe, although obviously that's what you shoot for. And I do think that of these three, all of them are underway already.
Okay.
So I think that whether or not we complete them remains to be seen, but I think we, for the most part, have the tools in place to get at them. That's just my.
So there were already opportunities. And-
I think so.
Yeah.
And housing goal 3 is really, isn't so much of an action goal, it's a way to.
Yeah, the safe harbor
It's
is-
a way to measure
Yeah.
how we're doing on goals 1 and 2 and perhaps others, because 1 and 2 will also help.
Other thoughts? Everybody in, oh, I'm hearing nodding from the members. Okay. Chuck, you want to add?
So, maybe I'm confused here, but for environmental, don't we have two?
We did. Let me jump to that. What we talked about last time is that everybody was agreed that one of the goals was create a sustainability office by the end of 2018, which is December. I mean, that's right around the corner. But I think everybody agreed that that would need to be, it's a goal, and a strategy to the bigger goal, which is this diverse and multidisciplinary group with this definitive recommendations to the select
Okay.
board.
All right.
Yeah. If you all are in agreement with that, okay? What that does is it just consolidates your environmental goal and recognizes that, yeah, this is something it's a thing you gotta knock down to create the sustainability office, but the bigger goal is does that make sense, Jason?
Yeah, I just reiterate what Libby said on the housing goals. A
Okay,
lot of this is already in
great.
motion, it's not brand new, where the environmental is a little more new, maybe a little more of a hill to climb.
Yep.
So just having one, people are like, oh, 1 versus 3, but they're very different.
So what that
makes sense.
says is a lot of your, then, the way you're prioritizing, even the 3 goals, is a lot of your attention is gonna be focused on housing. Right, over the next 3 years.
And I just on that, Chuck's point, that I was one that pushed from the end of 2018, so we might, I'll ask the group to maybe check in to see if that's too
Yeah,
aggressive.
you always wanted to check in on reality.
Certainly.
In retrospect, I think it may be a little bit too aggressive because we're gonna need funding and we've already done our budget number.
Unless it was a position that Remain was interested in.
If they did it and then rolled it in, we should keep it at that and then ask.
Although they are funding recycling coordinator.
Right.
So they might not.
Maybe that recycling coordinator position turns into this position.
Oh, boy.
No, maybe it's not.
Where,
Do you wanna,
Yeah,
do you wanna give yourselves a little more time on that? Because right after this, you'll be jumping into developing timelines and everything after these sessions, so do you wanna give yourselves a little more time?
Yeah, and we could certainly have, the plan for
The job description and everything else, but.
the funding may be a little bit farther out.
So when you say
Like
the
an up and
plan,
running thing, maybe more like the end of 19, but the concept and the sort of framework and the structure. and
Charter,
stuff,
mission, the job description.
and job description and all that,
I mean, back it up again.
okay.
The research and data collection.
Okay, so the framework, right?
I feel like it goes back to sort of what you were saying as
Yeah.
well about the verbs that we use. To
Yeah.
create is,
Yeah.
what does it mean to create?
Yeah.
Sustainability office,
Yeah.
maybe if we define that
Yeah.
differently,
Yeah,
whatever that means, I don't know
Yeah.
what the word is.
So I'll put in the notes, framework by 2000, end of 2018 is probably doable, but to get the funding and have a person actually there may happen the following year.
Yeah.
Do you want to target having that
Or people,
fully up and running by 2019?
Well, I'd rather not say that because I'd like to pressure on trying to make it happen
Okay.
personally.
All right. You want me to leave that as, again, a goal is not a goal without a date.
Yeah, I would rather go later, because the culture here has been not to do things by certain dates, you just say, we were too busy, it was too hard.
Sure.
You know, that happens, the comp plan happens all the time.
Yeah.
So if we're trying to change that culture, then we need to have things that we stick to.
Okay.
You know, dates that we stick to. And I think there's gonna be a lot of other stuff, even in environmental. There's the harbor and there's, you know, other issues that are gonna come up along the way. They're gonna pull us away a little bit, so I think later is a little better.
Okay.
I don't want these targets to be reasons not to look at other stuff that's
Exactly.
important.
Right. So I have framework by 2018. Did you want to set a date for when you would actually have a person sitting in that office?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to just add to it, kind of go halfway.
Go to 19.
End of 19?
July 1st.
I think,
Yeah, the
Yeah, we
budget
can do
would be
it.
approved
Budget.
at the
Got
end
a
of
FY '20 budget.
yeah, but I don't want to get too bogged down in the
Yeah.
nitty-gritty, but
That's what they're starting this thing.
we're not gonna have it set up, because we won't even have the money till that
Should-
day.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but we can, but if we know, if the money is on the way, we can have it advertised. And we can have people looking for someone in July or August and Ireland in the
Okay.
fall. Like that's not.
We can advertise it in May.
Yeah.
So the fall of 2019 might be more.
I think that's
Position
what-
filled.
I mean, I think it's more realistic, just in general,
And
finding
you can
people,
always
finding
adjust it.
housing.
You can always adjust it. You just don't want things floating out there, like, yeah, someday we'll have that.
Yeah, and if we're backing into the things, then we're saying we advertise in May, we fund in July, we hire by, you know, we go, you wanna
If,
make
if
it.
we're ahead of the goal, it's going to look better, because we're gonna roll these out with dates to the community.
Yeah,
And if
exactly.
we don't meet any of the dates, it's not gonna look very good.
No.
Yeah, your target dates.
So if we say September and we hire someone in August, like
We
that's a
did,
huge
we
win.
give ourselves.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, boy, yeah. We can just blame the chairman now if we don't.
All right. Okay, so it sounds like that is a minor adjustment there, but the goals are gonna stand as they are. All right?
Yep.
Okay, here's the plan. I'm gonna group you today, if you don't mind. You invited me to do that last time, all right? And I kind of did it based on how you were together for the discussion of these various themes last time and the time before that. So here's my idea. Matt, and you can change any of it. It's entirely up to you. I was thinking Matt, Libby, and Jason. How about if you guys take housing, okay, initially, we're on opportunities and threats now, okay? They're all right in front of you for your easy reference there, okay? I put the pictures of the flip charts
Mhm.
of the two goals that you have already identified the opportunities and threats. All you need to do now is prioritize them, okay? So it's that housing goal number 2 and 3, all right? And they're right there in your handout. Sound okay? You with me, Matt? Okay, so that would be Matt, Libby, and Jason. Rita and Jim, I was gonna put you back on the environmental leadership topic. Is that okay with you both? And you've got that one goal there, all right? What I might do is, if you're done early, I might split you up and put you with the other group to help, okay, with them, if that's all right. And then Greg and Dawn, I was gonna put you on transportation. Yep, is that okay?
Great.
Because I think you were working together at some point on that earlier. And so what you're doing is, you'll have 2 goals, environment will have 1, you guys will have 2. The top 2 likely potential threats and most important opportunities to leverage. That's all. Don't go into strategies right now. As soon as you have that and you're feeling done, let me
Two
know.
threats, two opportunities.
Top two. Here are the 2 most important, okay? I'm gonna give you about half an hour. We'll see if you need it, all that time. When you're done, raise your hand, okay? Because I want to just keep this moving when you guys are ready to report out. And you can cluster around these if you'd like to, same drill. Make notes on your paper, but when you're ready to report out, because don't forget I have to take a picture of these, all right? When you're feeling ready to report out, just put it on your flip chart pages, okay? Oh, and I did not give you.
So, should we write on that board then, Jess?
When you're
Oh, are we
ready,
writing on the board?
when you're ready for something final. Yeah.
Okay, so,
You may want to scribble as you're talking,
Right, 2
all right.
right?
Actually, Jim's
So
gonna,
Matt,
you wanna?
Libby, and Jason,
You done?
Rita and Jim.
All right. Yeah. Print off that, because you don't have the.
Okay, so, are you ready?
The last couple.
No, I meant.
We've got
This is Jason back, well, you guys up, roll diligence.
Ready, Dawn?
Yeah.
Okay,
You don't get yelled at.
so you have the actually articulated goals right there in your handout for the people who aren't on that team, and what do you got?
Sure. So for the downtown parking, we saw the threats as local opinion and changing habits. That there will be some people who have real trouble wrapping their head around this kind of change. And technological constraints of whether the technology is really there, how it's gonna work with cobblestones, and there's a number of different potential systems. So those are the things that we're worried about.
Quick question. When you say local opinion, is it likely to come from certain groups? Like, would it be
Locals.
existing downtown businesses versus,
It will be people who have trouble wrapping their heads around giving up their own car.
Well, it's gonna be, it's gonna be a change that people
You
that.
have to change people's
It's
habits.
it's important.
They're gonna say, I don't want anybody else to have a car, but I
and
need my car.
employees? Yeah.
It's not the businesses themselves necessarily,
Right.
it's employees who work down here
Yeah.
who found a way to game the system
Yeah.
that exists.
Yeah.
They don't wanna pay.
Yeah.
So,
But some businesses won't like it because it's new.
Yep.
And it actually, we know, we look at it every day, it'll actually help businesses, but it'll be hard for them to
They're
catch
gonna
on.
believe it hurts them right off.
Yeah.
Well, so on opportunities, promoting alternative modes of transportation. Taxis, ride sharing, biking, bus, carpooling. You know, three
Yeah.
people are working a shift, maybe they can share a ride,
Yeah.
bring one car down. Partnership opportunities, we see Harbor Place as an opportunity, Remain as an opportunity,
Chamber.
Chamber as an opportunity, Restaurant Association as an opportunity to work with those groups.
Potential allies?
We think they could be
They
allies.
could be allies
Yes,
if
if
you
they're-
bring,
We have to bring them in
if you bring
early.
them in early.
Exactly. Then
Yeah.
they would be allies.
Okay, great. Anybody have, let's just stay on that and finish that one. Any of the other group have anything to add? Any
So with-
thoughts about whether these are priority threats and opportunities? Jim?
Dawn said, you know, people are gonna have to deal with it, without having a car. I'm like,
Or paying.
no, I didn't read the goal. I was like, so we're gonna have to give up a can of cars on Nantucket. I was like, okay, I'm trying to wrap my head
Jim's like, I don't
around.
remember agreeing to
Right.
that.
I don't think you
You tell them all.
Thanks to that, too.
Yeah.
So to the rest of the group, are these good, important drivers
Yeah.
for when they get to broad strategies? Anything to add?
I think it's great.
And again-
Nailed it.
Yeah, okay.
I think too, the only thing is, is when we get to the partnership stage or talking to people, we need to have our sort of ducks in a row.
Our
We need to have
message.
our message, and we need to, be able to say, here's where we're gonna go if we don't do it. Here's how much we're spending on cars, how little we're spending on everything else.
Yep.
We need to shift this. We need to have that
Yep.
vision really solidly.
And
locked
that
up.
becomes part of your action plan. Chuck and Janet, Chuck, you taking a note on that? Yeah. That becomes part of the action plan of how do you
Absolutely.
bring these people in and how do you get ready for that?
We
Yeah.
really need to understand what technology we're gonna use and how it's
Yeah.
gonna function.
An opportunity might also be, although maybe it's just inherent in this, full Board of Selectmen support.
Yeah,
Select
we
board.
did say
We
this.
did. Dawn did bring that up, Dawn brought up an opportunity as revenue.
Is that new? I think full board support.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's new to have select board.
The full board.
100%.
Full,
Not a
unanimous.
split board.
This has always been split too,
Absolutely.
one way or the other.
You can't have one
Yes,
person.
you're a remarkably aligned group.
It's not through a strategic planning process.
So it's always half the battle,
Janice,
right?
yes.
All right, good to move to 2? All right, so that's sidewalk route.
We see full community support for sidewalk improvements. We just really don't see any barriers there, and that's a big opportunity. And that there's opportunities to create less traffic and promote safety.
Especially in that
Improvement.
busy downtown Stop and Shop area around Sparks River.
Do you mean by less traffic, do you mean less cars, or do you mean improved circulation?
Both,
Looking
that some people may choose to walk because they feel
because they
safer.
can now.
I see, yep, got it.
And,
If we keep adding 2 point something cars for 500 cars a year, it's gonna be quicker to walk. Yeah, that's where we're heading, and so, you
Yeah,
know.
so if the sidewalks are safe and you can fit a stroller down the sidewalk, like people will be happy.
It's already almost quicker to walk, like if you're on the shuttle coming into downtown, you might as well just get off at Francis Street.
That's what I do.
Entrance.
When I lived in South
Alright.
Boston, it was easy for me to walk from Southie to the State House sometimes because of the traffic.
We see the threats are road sizes and gaining easements and things to fit what we need. And we also said some
What is that, just for my own, when I take a picture, that says ease?
road size
Easements?
and easements.
I'm not a good
It's okay.
And then construction timing slash disruption. Everybody wants it done, but nobody wants to go through the process of it getting done.
They don't wanna look at it.
We thought of an opportunity is that it could be also additional benefits along the path, like sync wires. But
Yeah.
by 2021, we would be able to get that done.
For these threats, and you'll discuss this when you get to the strategies, just a curiosity point, are they overcomable?
Oh, so yes,
Yes.
Okay, because I'm
Yes.
thinking road size is road size, right?
Right.
But it's overcomable.
it is.
There's just compromise in it may
Right.
not be able to be as wide in certain locations.
Right, or not the road you necessarily want.
Or you might have to do things like eliminate parking,
On the
if we're
street.
still talking about cars that shouldn't be parking on sidewalks. There's several streets that either the sidewalk has to be improved on one side,
And
and there's no sidewalk on the other side. Or there's no parking on that street.
And Cliff Road is one place I just walked down that we should do that on, and we should better everybody there, and they would accept it. But
So that's for broad strategies, next
Yeah.
discussion.
Is
Yeah.
another-
pick a good example.
Let me,
Strength of the
yes, something to add?
Yep, is it-
Okay, yes? Do you need to,
Sound good?
okay, sorry, Jim. Yeah.
I just wonder if another threat, I know Dawn's then introduced the concept when she was out in Hawaii about, elevated walkways over what looks like, environmental
Wetlands.
sensitive areas. Is there some threat around that, like
Well,
from
yeah,
the-
permitting,
Right.
maybe, depending on where we're talking about.
Maybe like a semi, concept, like a threat to a revolutionary idea or a new idea. I don't know what the words are, but maybe that's an easement conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a new thought.
Is that
This route,
part of that, is that part of that discussion?
I mean, that particular treatment wasn't what I was envisioning for this route
Oh,
that
okay.
comes
Right.
from like Mid-Island
The
to
6FG.
town,
Oh,
but it
okay.
could come into play.
And I've shared her picture with two Concom members in the Cormac, and they all think it's a great idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Even though they're environmentalists, they realize that there's something that we need to figure out.
there's ways to do it. If they did it in that place,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they were
Florida has them
installing
everywhere.
more like that rather than the walkways that laid flat on the beach because these are better for
Florida
the
has them
environment.
With your permission, I'm gonna, is that okay?
Yeah.
Because we need to keep
Yeah.
that. So, just in terms of the identified priorities, anything to add from the group, or are you all just, we need alignment here, yeah, these are pretty much our biggest opportunities and threats here? Good, okay. And so obviously, Greg, when you and Dawn and everybody goes into the next phase, is, okay, what are the top two strategies, or three, I mean, certainly, that will like maximize the opportunities and minimize these threats, okay? That's where the conversation's going. All right, who's next? Housing? You ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. So just to refresh memory, it was,
John, objection?
Sure, I bet he does.
so the two remaining ones were employee housing goals and safe harbor.
right. So, this was tough. We were kind of all over the map. It was hard to really narrow it down. Opportunity, dedicated staff for the employee housing. That's, imagine if we didn't have that, that would be over here, or it'd be a challenge. We'd have to go through that. So dedicated staff and community support and recognition.
So you want to try to build those into something, that would be something that you would build into messaging as part of your strategy.
And people already realize that they need to run a business and have a lot of employees have to do it.
Yeah.
So it's sort of an accepted thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so you're not going up that hill.
Right, that's
That-
the point.
yeah.
Threats, regulatory issues, we talked about, local permitting, procurement, but also state regulations. Talked about that kind of at the end, so there's a lot of hurdles in the whole regulatory process. I don't really know exactly what it was for state, but
It's paying know, prevailing wages, and
Right.
that doubles or triples the cost of the projects, and, yeah.
Right. And then kind of that leads right into the unions, which we all know what the challenge would be for that.
Does
No.
everyone at the table know what the challenges are with that?
Greg's eyes got big. Right.
All right. Anything to add to that goal? General agreement that those are the two areas where you want to strategize around first. Good? Okay. And then safe harbor?
Yeah, this is the safe harbor one, existing projects, right, when things coming online, that's an opportunity. And then initiatives, I think we talked about this a lot, like all the different zoning fee waivers, spreading out the projects. What do you think about that? You reword it, or?
Is this referred to the spread out geographically thing that we talked about last time? I'm just gonna write that in for my own.
Yeah, the public wants it, spread out equally everywhere, not just in
One,
diverse
yeah.
pockets, they want it shared.
We good with this? You want to add, edit? Threats, NIMBY. We went back and forth on NIMBY. There's different ways of looking at it. We all know it's a threat. I think it's a human condition to have change next to you, right? To be averse to it at the beginning. But we thought I said, imagine if you're presenting this at a Board of Selectmen meeting or town meeting, and trying to talk about NIMBY. Can you frame it? Matt kind of brought this up to, NIMBY, it's real, but can we do better at reaching out so to mitigate the NIMBY? It's a threat, but by having it here talking about it, does it put it in front of us to lower it a little bit, to get people involved earlier?
And when you move to strategies too, you want to connect this, right?
Yeah.
In other words, how
Right.
can you
To do this, to
maximize
mitigate
this to,
How do you get the neighbors to stand up and say, we want this?
We want employee housing.
You get it really early, right, so they're part of the process.
It's called NIMBY. There's a couple articles on it.
Yeah,
Tucker.
Yeah.
and then town infrastructure. I think that's everybody's, going forward for the next 5, 10, 15 years, keep building town infrastructure, sewers, everything. But on the developers, what you were saying, Matt, developers need to get in line with this.
I'm already sensing a theme here. Bring them in early. Bring them in early.
Yeah.
It's probably going to drive your next work. All the collaboration and all the communication you need to put into play. Okay, did they nail it?
Something that just plays into that NIMBY is like, with regard to the offset of the existing projects is the wherewithal of those existing projects. All of this work's been done on these projects, and are they gonna come to actual fruition because the neighbors are appealing?
Oh.
What's the wherewithal of the developers to actually stay in the game?
Yeah.
Is that part of that?
I would just say that that's a subset of the NIMBY.
Do you want to capture that?
Subset down here?
Of
Yeah.
Or
I just wanted
subset?
to say it.
Do you want me to capture
That's
that?
something that's starting to worry me.
Maybe we should add something. Last time we talked a little bit about developer follow-through. And I would put maybe a little parentheses after NIMBY for that. And that, I think that covers it.
Yeah,
Their
that's exactly
follow-through
what I'm
might
talking
not
about.
might be involuntary, and they can't follow through.
So I don't know if I want to put it in there, because I think that we could be, I don't think we're gonna get diverse housing if we're counting on the traditional way of having these developers who put no money down and get the money from the state and build this, build us a little bit and say, aren't we lucky? I think we have to broaden our goal, the way we do things and say, we want this, everywhere. And I don't think it's just a developer-driven thing. I think this could be a lot-by-lot driven process that gets us housing.
So you're saying a threat would be developer-driven process?
No, I don't know if we want to, I don't know if I want to focus on saying, we're worried about the developers, because I think the strategies are gonna be more than just bringing big guys from off island to do this. I think the town has to say our second dwellings are for, year-round housing, and this is for this, and this is for this. I think we have to do,
This
That's
comes
us.
into play even with a 4-unit project on Surfside Road,
Yeah.
was the neighborhood concerns.
Yeah.
So that, I think it applies across the board with any kind of development that is associated as being an affordable housing project, even if
And
it's
we, as
tiny.
a town, fathers or mothers, whatever, we've sent mixed messages, like Surfside, and said, no, we don't want this litigation, we don't like this guy, we don't, you know.
I'm talking about the housing Nantucket project across from the high school.
No, I know, but I'm just saying in general, though, I'm talking about NIMBY in general. So if I'm a neighbor, do I differentiate between this kind of affordable housing or that kind of affordable housing? Well, the town didn't want this one, now they want this one,
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm
That's a good
confused.
point.
So,
I think that's a design, from my perspective, that's a design, in those two cases, there's reasons for not wanting one and wanting the other.
I know, I'm talking about is the community member, you're using my tax dollars.
And we know the details of that, but the
Yeah.
general public don't.
Right.
So Matt, how do we address your, they were thinking that they wanted to make that developer follow-through piece, sort of an asterisk next to NIMBY, but am I hearing you say that you really just don't want to frame it as a threat? In other words, you don't want it to be a strategy driver? Is that what I heard you say?
I don't know if we have to spend a lot of time on it, but, I mean, I could go either way, It's not high.
Are you willing to wait and see what they come up with in the strategy discussion?
Yeah.
Around that? So why don't we capture it for now? Is that okay? Put that,
The
is
one,
that all right with you?
the one issue we talked about and didn't put down is financing. And we didn't say that money is an issue. On number one, on number two, the top one for employee housing, we didn't, because if we do it right, we should be able to, and if we design it right, and we do it right, and the unions like it, and the neighbors like it, the town accepts it, then I think, the rents themselves will pay for the bond, and pay for the housing. We didn't put it in, and that's for the employee housing part of it. We didn't really put it down in here because most of these are, are funded by elsewhere, and they're sort of self-sufficient. And the guys who are doing it, are making a ton of money with the 80% that's turned into seasonal vacation homes. So I think that, we didn't really think the funding. Now, Affordable Housing Trust Fund thinks it's a huge issue, but that's because they're only looking at it through the lens that we need money. If they actually will widen their lens, and then they'll see that there's other ways to do it.
Is that part of strategy? Oh, I'm sorry.
It is.
So I have heard like people saying, we'd support another Sachem's Path type of project. And they said, why can't we get another Sachem's Path instead of these other kind of proposals? And I said, well, there was a lot of money to subsidize Sachem's Path. So it's a funding and it's a location for having the land.
Yeah.
So the financing does come into play because if you have more money, you can build something more, what people would see as slightly more in keeping with Nantucket's character.
Does that need to be adjusted in any way, or is that all part of strategy discussion?
I think it's.
It is, okay. Okay.
It's
So-
daunting.
So you'll have to bring that into your next discussion now, okay? So same drill for you guys, you're gonna move into strategies to maximize and mitigate. And Janetta, what's going on?
Yeah, ours seems like a piece of cake compared to that.
I didn't
Plus,
have
look
any
at her
complaints.
printing, can we give her props for printing on there? Oh my God. It's camera ready for sure.
So the two top opportunities that
Oh,
absolutely.
Rita, let me interrupt. Clarify how you made adjustments, how you were framing the goal.
Yeah, so when we had a look at the goal, we sort of picked out the part where the goal really is to have recommendations for the board, definitive recommendations for the board by 2021. And that first line of the goal, establishing a diverse multidisciplinary group, is really a strategy to achieve that goal. So we focused in on threats and opportunities for having those recommendations by 2021. So
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
It makes sense, right?
the contract expiring is maybe a little obviously made it even easier on ourselves, but it's absolutely contract expiring is why we're here and why we have so many opportunities to discuss. We also felt that there's public awareness and interest in our landfill. More and more people are sort of noticing the condition it's in and want to see it, better and more sustainable, doing what it's meant to be doing. And that's also timed with overall a broader cultural shift in awareness of sustainability concepts. So people understand that the conversation around the landfill has to do with water quality, it has to do with transportation, it has to do with more than just what's going on, land use, composting, all that kind of thing. And I think those two together makes it an opportunity that is different perhaps in the past. Top two threats.
Do you want to check those out?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to check that out with the group? You know what I'm remembering is way back when at one of our meetings, how you were talking about how key education, public education is going to be in all of this discussion too. So that it could maybe be a feeder for education programs or something.
Yeah.
So what do you think, folks? Anything to add to the opportunities that you see? Anything missing from there?
No,
The only thing you could add is you could say public and staff awareness. I mean, I think we've got people, I don't know if we need to do that, but for ourselves, we've got consultants and we've got people that are aware this is a huge issue and it has to be dealt with. You know, I don't think we have to,
Government officials kind of thing?
well, I think,
So you have general.
no, I think we've got the DPW's on board. I think that,
I mean, when you say at public, you got public and
Staff.
who, I would
I'm-
name the name.
I don't think we need to put it there, but I'm just saying, this is
True though.
this is easier
Yeah.
than it
Yeah.
was, Libya can say, no, if I'm wrong, than it was 10 years ago. I think there's an awareness by the staff we have hired, and we have a consultant in place, and we have the numbers, and we've got a lot more, we have a lot more ability to do it than we did.
Yeah.
Even 10
So
years
you've got
ago.
more of a
That's
bandwidth.
just kind of where we were. That was-
Yeah. People are interested in it. And I think, to your point about education, I think people will be seeking out the information, which will make our job easier.
Yeah, because the interest is there.
Do you agree, Libby?
yeah,
Yeah. There were a couple threats, we honed in on these two. The idea of no perfect solution, or I suppose it's our ability to understand what our options are and then try and decide what is the most sustainable option for a contract that's going to last 25 years, when a lot of the sustainability options have to do with available technology, logistics and things like that. So we went back and forth on that one, but felt that it's an important part, something to acknowledge at the start of the conversation, that we aren't going to necessarily have a perfect solution. I think sometimes when you get bogged down saying that's not going to work, we can't do this, we can't do that, and you sort of throw your arms out, but we're going to have to get over that. And then the other one we chose was the working relationship with waste options and our ability to sort of assess where we're at, where we've been, what's happened, what's the next best step. And they hold a lot of information on how willing will they be to share, to participate in the conversation, whether or not they see themselves as part of the next contract could affect that, so.
So it's bring them in early again, right? Is waste options like a thing? Is it a department? Is it a landfill? Oh, okay.
It's a private.
Yeah,
And do we,
okay.
ideally, they'd be, exploring things with us, but we don't know how realistic that is. And then on the no perfect solution, it's, I know, because I've been guilty of it, I'm not going to say, let's just cart all this stuff off. Or let's have a gasification plant. So there's no like perfect solution, no silver bullet, and it's going to be harder.
I would make a couple comments. I don't even know if the solution part. I don't know that it's a question of our ability to understand options, but more like we can put out a number of options and we can all understand them. What one are we going to pick? It's more our ability to pick one or two or four.
Yeah, I didn't mean like their comprehension, I think I meant it particularly in terms of their long-term, because our goal specifically says sustainable options.
Yeah.
You have these possibilities, and that is tying it directly to our ability to understand how sustainable they are. So it's ability to understand the sustainability of the options.
All right, I'm hung up a little bit on ability.
Mhm.
Because, maybe I'm getting too hung up on it, but we are all capable of understanding this. But there are factors that might make a long-term solution iffy, for lack of a better word. For example, the technology. And we've talked for several years now, maybe more like 10 or more, about gasification, which right now is not a permanent technological solution in Massachusetts, but it is elsewhere in Europe and other places. However, we're getting information annually really from our consultants that saying it's getting closer. So you might not want to build I'm making this up a little, a new composter tomorrow, because in 3 years, gasification might be the thing that everybody's doing. So technological advancements, I guess, are impacting long-term planning, because you don't want to get too far down the road. And it's a little bit like what Matt's been sort of saying about driverless cars. It's a thing.
I was thinking something similar, and what I'm thinking is more, it's not, I don't know if it's a ability, but it might be, how do we set up a process to ensure that we've looked at everything, so we have the information, so when we make our decision, it's a solid decision for 25 years. You know, it
Would
is,
those be strategies to deal with the threats?
Yes.
I think I think those are both good strategies.
Yeah.
But we still, we can change the word ability, but we're just trying to come up with the threats here.
Okay.
And
So-
it wasn't, yeah, again, it wasn't not necessarily how are we able to comprehend the options?
Yeah.
It's more, it's understanding the options and are we able to, and then choose these short-term or in the next 5 years solutions, and then how do we assess their long-term sustainability when technology is changing so
Yeah,
much?
that, okay, as long as that's what we mean by
That
that,
was-
that,
yeah.
that's, I guess.
So the threat is that that what I'm hearing you say is that the threat is the lack of a process to look at when you get this report of all these options in front of you and to understand.
But I don't
Is
see,
that
I,
right?
I
Why
don't
don't we
see,
change the word ability to how to
Yeah.
understand options in
Yes,
the long
I
term?
think that's, I think.
yeah, but with regard specifically to things like technological advancements or other ways of handling things, when something you just said, I thought, no, that's not what we mean. But I don't know.
Method to understand options and long-term sustainability in the face of changing technology.
Yes, exactly, that.
Yeah?
I'm very happy with taking out ability because I think it's confusing, so method, I think that works. I think just stepping back, I wrote that little note in there because of the sense that I feel we have to be comfortable with when we sit down and look at all these options and then try and, find a way to decide which is the best short-term, long-term, that we might be faced with a situation where it feels like there's no perfect solution. And we have to be okay with saying, this isn't perfect. We know in 10 years technology might change.
Okay.
So it was maybe,
That's what you meant.
yeah, it was maybe just sort of trying to encapsulate that, like, what's not having a perfect solution.
Did you
And
like
then
what
the
Jim-
sustainability is the prism that we need to
Yeah.
use,
Yeah.
as opposed to financial operations, land use. I mean,
Yeah.
so how do we, we've not really done, I don't think we've thought that through. Contracts.
Did everyone like what Jim had to say? How you summarized that?
I did.
Does anyone remember what it was? Jim, do you?
No method to
So the-
understand options and their long-term sustainability in the face of changing technology, or evolving technology.
I think it's professionalism in there. I like the sound of that word. And part of, I go back to it because I got on the board, 20 years ago, sort of not that far after the waste options was on, and we were having trouble even then. And when you dug into it, you realized that the town council had some advice, was kicked out of them, and the couple selectmen signed the deal. And it was against town council recommendations, it was, we were kind of flawed right from the beginning. And so we have to have a process now that ensures that we don't, that this board or a future board or whoever doesn't get influenced by some, shiny presentations or whatever. We need to make sure that we are, that we're uncovering every stone, looking under every stone.
They shouldn't be talking as individual board members to the people.
I'm just telling you how it was back then.
No, I know.
And that's what my concern is.
No, I agree, I'm teasing.
We agreed to stuff without understanding what the impact of it.
Yeah, yeah. And so that lack of sort of, that method or that vetting process, if you will, is, and that
City Sovereign
term
did
has
a
come up
side
before.
deal.
I don't know if that happened, but
Can I mention
Yes,
something?
of course.
So, working relationship with waste options. There may be issues with our working relationships with them, but it's more, the overriding issue is our contractual relationship.
Yes, I was gonna say it's contract.
It's
Oh, okay.
hampers us in many areas.
I think that's almost, I think, if I'm imagining it, that it's two different, that's probably equal, maybe even greater threat, that it's the separate contractual threat. And then there's the contractual sort of the here and now, and then what we're able to talk about and do. And then the working, that one to me is, I think, again, they have so much information about what's, but they're perfect ability to sit down with them and say, what worked, what didn't work, where did it go wrong, how can we do it better? And I think that's, are we going to be able to have that kind of a working relationship with them going forward?
Well, I think that,
Is this a
We
strategy
were
discussion?
thinking more about, are they the kind of partner we want to deal with in the future?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And I hear what you're saying about the contract, I agree with that.
Them as a business,
did you say working slash?
Yeah, but I was gonna say, I mean, is that too much to take on when you're doing because don't forget, just because these are your priority things today, doesn't mean that there might not be more.
Yeah, and they're very much related, working and contractual.
Wanna just combine those?
I would suggest that because we're gonna be getting at it in our long-term plan.
In executive sessions.
Jim and Rita, you're okay with that? Okay.
So this is a foregone conclusion, fixed waste options. Like, I mean, we don't have people beating down the door to work here for our waste management, but
What do you mean?
what if there's another firm out there that we have a better working relationship with?
Well, I think we're gonna be working on those types of options in the long-term planning process, because we're gonna,
I think Libby's point about because I call it all working relationships, but the working relationships are what they are because of the contract.
right,
What exists?
and maybe even because of, administrative issues over time that have not been focused on.
Okay,
All right,
good?
Yes.
Because you'll get into all of that as you're discussing strategies. I'm sure we'll have another half hour at least to do that. My question to you is lunch has not arrived yet, okay? Do you want to take a quick break if you need to, or do you want to just plunge into strategies? Because I'm assuming the strategy discussion is going to be even more complex than this.
What?
And then we'll just break when the food arrives. What's your preference?
yeah,
Yes.
let's just plunge in and then.
Keep going?
Yeah.
And then we'll just break when the food gets here?
Yeah.
Okay, so go to it, same groups, same goals, and now you're moving into, again, stay big picture, okay? So for example, you don't have to necessarily take the approach of, okay, what are my two main strategies for this? What are my two main strategies for this? You see what I mean? Try to connect them, because opportunities and threats are often connected. And by doing this broad strategy, we maximize the opportunity at the same time we mitigate the threat. You see what I'm saying? Okay. And so again, you want to try to come up with the top two strategies that you think will maximize opportunities and mitigate threats. And if there has to be a third strategy just because of the content that you came up with, that's fine. I just wanted to try to make the conversation length manageable. Okay? Good.
Any words around terms around we should be thinking about for strategy? Should it be time sensitive? Should it be measurable? I don't know. So we have to care about those things right now. Or?
I think so, because don't forget, your plan is broad strategy concepts,
Okay.
ideas. You're gonna do data and research. You're gonna be identifying data and research. And then you're gonna be coming back, I think, the steps in our plan, coming back to refine those before you go to action steps. Right? So yeah, I wouldn't get too hung up on measurable and all of that stuff. This is our basic approach. These are the first things we think we ought to do. Okay? All right?
So, parking management says,
All right.
that's why the opportunities first.
And
Strategies.
they're broad things to do.
Broad,
Yeah.
think of it, not things to do, exactly, quite right. I misspoke. Basic approach. Here's our basic approach. For example, here's our basic approach to bringing people in early. That came up in almost every goal. Talk about maybe a broad strategy is public process. And bringing in collaborators, partnerships. Look, I mean, they came up everywhere.
Yeah.
So that's a broad strategy of how do we need to do that differently? Okay?
I think that's it.
That's the
Our threats for, park development, right there.
In about 1 minute. Okay. you overachievers are actually done. Are you done? Yeah. Really?
You can never do that wrong.
Because you-
Let's see if you can remember.
Because if that's true, we could put one of you at each, and you can just weigh in on one of the other groups.
Right.
If you'd like. I don't want you sitting there doing, not being, you know. Well, and I know you've always got work to do too. Gotcha.
I think we're.
All right, you let me know. Oh, also, when you're writing things on that, for, just, if you're using, abbreviation like N/N, just,
Told you get in trouble.
yeah, just write that out, so when I do the notes, I'll know what that means. Okay.
Just spell it.
We don't know how it's spelled.
I'll hear you say it too. I hate watching you. All right.
And why, just A or E.
So the drill is, we're gonna go from now till about 1:30, okay, on your strategies, and then we will report out. And we'll start closing this down right around 2, or just before 2, okay?
Shut it down.
All right, so, you are on your marks.
All right, so we're on.
Yeah, so.
So for the parking, update the study by engaging with Romaine, which they've offered to, have Nelson Nygaard do that with recommendations, timeline, contract, planning and EDC involvement, that with groups in the public, chamber, NAREB, restaurant association, civic league, town association, non-resident taxpayers, NIR, among others probably. So that was, it's really, move forward with updating that study and get the recommendations with everybody.
Does that mean
Who
you have
plays a
to,
part involved.
are you still working with them? They're a company, I take it?
They did a study
Are you
in
still working with
2011.
them?
Well, Romaine has offered to re-engage
Oh,
them
okay,
to
so you-
update the
And
study.
we're working as a work group.
Yeah, so can I say something about that? So I talked to Don and Matt a little bit about this. The vote the board took back in November specifically says the town will pay for the study. But now we're changing that. Because now we're saying we're gonna let Renee pay for it and we're gonna tell them who we wanna hire.
So we need to vote again.
Yeah, so we'll work on that internally, yeah.
And one of the reasons we did that is because we felt that that brought a level of independence into
Right.
thinking.
Exactly.
And it was because of the fact that
It was a
there
perception,
was some.
Perception issue.
Huh?
it was a perception issue.
Yeah, last time.
Yeah.
And so is that something we want to change now?
Well,
Are you just mentioning that this is something that needs further discussion, or does it need to be,
Yeah, I think
It doesn't have to be decided tonight.
does it have to be decided now,
no,
or?
We probably need to discuss this
I mean, either
as an
way-
agenda item
Right.
that's properly noticed.
I mean, either way, we need to update the plan to get proper
that's what I'm
recommendations,
Yeah.
to get it going again, and get it out there in the public.
And then your second major one was the vetting.
Vetting,
Yeah.
getting early allies.
The benefit of the Romaine offer has to do with time and
Yeah.
the RFP process.
And funding.
Okay. Anything to add, folks, to that one? Sounds like, again, you just want to get 2 solid things that are going to move you forward from today. Okay?
The only thing I can think we have to add is to make sure that we're prepared for town meeting, so that we don't get torpedoed, I think.
you may not need time to.
No, well, we do for the, what's it called, the parking benefit district and the fund parking.
Oh, this time.
This time.
66.
Yeah. So in the near term, we gotta make sure we're ready for that. I don't know if it needs to be up there, but.
Does it need to be up there, or is that a given?
I think we're,
Get ready.
I was gonna
The
say,
process
it's in a week and a half.
But it's something to get covered.
There's some comments, too,
Yeah.
and we gotta be
Yeah, like we
ready.
need to put
I think some people are gonna view this as an opportunity to torpedo the
To
whole
shoot
thing.
it down, yeah.
So we haven't done the outreach necessarily, and
well, I don't totally agree that we haven't done the outreach. We've done it as follows. We talked about it on these videos that David Worth and some other FinCom people and I did at NCTV. Mike Burns has gone to several community groups and talked about it. I'm going to the town association next week to talk about, now this is about the warrant in general, but we've been bringing up specific articles that we think might have some discussion. This is one of them. I mentioned it at Rotary the other day. We got to meet the articles tomorrow, and
Okay.
there's something else.
Libby, Is it okay if I just,
Oh, yeah, sure.
because we're running TikTok?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, great. I just captured that here, okay, just so that when somebody knows come back to you.
Okay.
Okay, sidewalk.
Really finalize a route and drawings by working with planning and PDC, internal meetings, doing an RFP and identifying a funding source, and vet with groups and the public. And this is somewhat happening at the same time, outreach. And then the next step would be to start collecting the easements once the final plan's in place.
This is a work in progress already? Is this already off the ground?
That one, no.
No, this one is not. This
Well,
one is. Okay.
The side is
is there sidewalks?
Six FG two downtown?
Some drawings.
No, this is Mid Island.
So your broad strategy is then pulling together, again, bringing these
Bringing-
people in
Yeah,
to come
so
up with the final.
to start
Yeah.
from scratch.
Good. Anything to add to that? Two good solid strategies there?
Yep.
To work on? Okay.
And I think, and my only, the easements need to be a priority. Like, those have to be at the top, if we want this stuff done, that can't be, well, we have these other things, let's do it 2 years from now.
We need to have a plan and everything to figure out what we
You
need.
get the plan, but then they have to go to the top of the list.
Easements for it.
Yeah, that's how, you know, so, okay.
Someone needs to work on that full time.
Yes.
Yes.
Realistic
Okay.
position.
Jim? Rita? Go next.
You made me
So,
start on hold something.
If you remember, our environmental goal is to, consider all options for solid waste with a goal of sustainability with recommendations to the Board of Selectmen by fall 2021. We struggled with how to frame the strategy without making it seem like we had a construct that we already thought about. And so we're like, okay, we should have a work group, and they should be doing this, and so we kept backing it up. And then we got a little crazy in saying, crazy. We said, why do we allow any waste to come on Nantucket? Why do we allow the consumer to be the victim of big grocery who creates all this waste in our households? So we're saying we need to envision an ideal, our strategy is to envision the ideal solid waste solution for Nantucket. Is it, even talking about, we want to reduce the waste stream in our houses. Well, who puts it there? We don't put, it's not our fault, So we were being a little outside the, whatever, but, and we talked about some methodologies for doing that in terms of some planning thinking. And then early, frequent, innovative, and public engagement. And so we thought about how have community or popular ideas gotten into the mainstream. And we used the example of seatbelts. So it was my 7-year-old son sitting next to me in the car and said, "Dad, buckle up for safety." Because they had learned at an early age that you gotta wear your seatbelts. So we started really with kids. So those were our two broad strategies.
Yes.
Why did you go with envision versus something very concrete like explore, examine, and choose the ideal solid waste? Right. Envision is just kind of like let's push it back. We're going to talk about it.
So we had other words like imagine. So it's basically a process of, so even when you say explore, it's like, okay, there's a defined list of ways of doing things. Okay? And we wanted to back up from that and saying, okay, these are the ways let's look at all the ways communities deal with their waste. And then we got classifications, but we didn't think that would get us to the conversation about we're the victims here. As a consumer, we're a victim. And somebody else needs to,
How about,
a little provocative.
how about envision and identify the ideal solid waste solution? If there's a 3-year plan, are we gonna have to,
I see what you mean about the balance between it being something that's achievable, it's not just.
Nebulous.
Could you
I
have,
think although the goal is what has the time frame. The strategy is does the strategy itself have a time frame, or is it
so we did miss that.
and create, yeah. So, and
So
I
I
think,
think
yeah, maybe it should be
Envision and
envision and
create.
create the ideal solid waste solution.
The group's inclination, I think, is the right one, is
Yeah.
that this is not the time for broad nebulous kinds of words. This is the time for what you actually want to do, okay? So my question to you is, just a question, so I'm following your thinking. One of your broad strategies was to create this multidisciplinary group, and you talked about it. So when you, is that strategy connected to this one? In other words, is the group, who's doing the envisioning here? Is it the group that you bring together, and this is your way to like set that table, get them started with shared vision, or am I making that up?
Jim and I might have slightly different interpretations, and we really did struggle with this. What we were trying to figure out is we didn't want necessarily the starting point of a work group to be what we know based on who's in the room at the time or the experience that they have, or even necessarily looking at some of the threats with relationship with waste options, not limited by what we already have. So is it an element of, is this a preliminary research that happens before the work group gets together? It's meant to be starting all the way back, not limited by what we have in front of us today, but informing the conversation. So
But we really, had we really decided how that should be done?
Yeah, who's doing it?
I
Who's involved in
suppose
it?
my initial thoughts were that it would be a combination of consultants. I would love to see academia, whether it's WPI or some people. I think a little bit of it is the sense of when we sit down to look at our options, that we feel like there's been a very broad identification and examination of the options that are available to us, as opposed to, again, being limited by who's here today and what we know. So I see this as being before the work group gets started. We've identified that we are looking for the ideal scenario as opposed to what waste options might think is best.
And it may be, if we do this frequent innovative, public engagement around this ideal thing, that may create a mindset in the community that this is what we want to do. And I know we're thinking about groups and that.
Oh, I get
We could put a
that.
group there, but we could put some locus of thinking. Basically, it's a thought process we want to go.
Wouldn't we want our long-term solid waste work group, or whatever we are going to call it, to be coming up with maybe not the ideal solution, but a number of options?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the work group that's gonna give the board all this information at some point. There's gonna be more than one meeting after that. But the work group's gonna be, we called it in our goal, a diverse multidisciplinary group that we're gonna be setting up very shortly, well
Yep.
before the end of the year.
Because we were thinking about who might be on that. Typically, we'd say, we need a board of selectmen, we need somebody from planning, we need George Aronson, we need somebody from DPW. We don't think that group is going to come up with the kinds of ideas and provocative thinking that we said. And when Greg joined us, we really came to the conclusion that, for now, waste options isn't even on the table.
Right.
We're not even thinking.
Well, we haven't even had a discussion about who's gonna be on the group. So I'm not even, that, when we've talked about the group so far, it's only been vague individual discussions, and then sometimes in meetings, they really need a long-term group. So with some of you, I've discussed I think Jim, you and I have talked a little bit about the kind of bigger group that says, for example, I'm making this up, not fact, shipping off island is the best way to go. We should look into it. And then this smaller group of professional people on it who are into business, none of whom are going to be our current contract. Do the dig deep of what that means. Does that mean we have to have our own barge? Does that mean we need another steamship trip per day? What does that entail? That kind of thing. But the people on, whether it's one group or two groups, can be whatever the board, whatever you say it should be. But I think whoever it ends up being is the group that's going to have a lot of discussion about all the various possibilities, and then, they're gonna go to you regularly and give updates, and from these updates and the information they've got, you're gonna come up with the ideal solution.
I think may I? Matt, you got a burning thing you need to say? Or, because I have a suggestion that might,
We'll suggest it.
okay, and then you jump in, I'll
And
be
if I
fast.
don't, if I disagree,
Okay.
I'll.
Tell me if I'm even on the same page, because I'm really struggling to understand here, because I know you gave a lot of thought to this. Do you remember our problem-solving model?
I will, you probably remind me, but
Does everyone agree? Is everyone defining the problem in the same way? What are the root causes of the problem? Okay, so when I see this, and following on what Libby, I think, was just saying, as a beginning broad strategy, in the problem-solving model, which you all seem to like, this comes last. Remember?
Yeah.
People always want to jump to solution first, always. But, so the question I'm putting before you is, whoever the group of people is who needs to be working on this, okay? Are they defining the problem in the same way? Does everyone even agree it's a problem? Do you all mutually understand the root causes? Do you see what I'm saying? And so the danger of jumping off with an ideal solution and then presenting it to a group might lead to exactly what you were trying to avoid. Now,
Yeah, and our thinking, the envisioning thing is bigger letters and solutions smaller.
of course, but so you're following what I mean. I just want to leave you with the thought that you have a model now that works for problem solving and for doing shared vision. So if you were actually thinking of doing some of those activities with this diverse multidisciplinary group, or even amongst yourselves, you have those models. So I just wanted to remind you of that, okay?
Where would you put up there
I'm not sure. I just have a feeling that I'm not truly understanding yet what it is that you want to achieve. But I don't want to bog down the conversation either. Matt and then
You go,
I want to go first.
I'm just kind of feeling like this
Yeah, when you get
actual
paid.
goes back to our yellow sticky note
Yeah.
goals, and it's different. I think it's different than figuring out the solution for our current landfill. I think it's figuring out like idea.
It's a vision.
I take it as ideal, and that's what, in a perfect world, that's what Nantucket would look like, but I think we need to know what our actual realistic options are.
Of course.
And this is more of a back to,
So I look at it
Figuring
differently. I think the envisioning is almost more, I think, how I see it, I think the envisioning is almost more on number 2, where you're saying, here's the, like, where you're bringing people in, and here's the ideal, and this is where we want to be, and we want to be sustainable, and this and that. But I think, and to get the buy-in for the the big picture and the whole thing we have to do, I think number 1 is figuring out, is making sure that we've collected all the information, so we know what the options are. So when it comes time to sit down and choose one and implement it, then you have the information you need to pick from. I go back, and I'm old enough to remember when we did the digester, and it was the best, everyone thought it was the best thing ever, and it was sold to us as, you won't have to do anything, it's gonna sort everything by itself, and it's gonna be cheaper, and we're gonna sell the stuff, and it was all baloney. But it was sales pitches that those guys at the time got, because they were limited with what they knew. So I think what you're asking for is to go out and get something that's more.
Okay.
I have something burning.
Okay.
Okay,
the landfill.
our goal is to establish a diverse and multidisciplinary group. Our strategy is,
Well,
how are we going to do that, right?
No, we switched that.
Yeah.
Remember last time we
but
switched
they,
it?
I think the one where you sort of, like, you're on something that, Matt, I think that you sort of said the closest thing to what I was thinking. What we're afraid of is that we put this work group together and we sit down and we say, I've heard about gasification. and I've heard about this and I've heard about that. And that then we say to a consultant or to whomever, go and get us the information on gasification. And then we come back and that's what we look at. And what we want to start with is what are the things that we don't know at this, how do we get a broader sense of how we are not limited by what we know here today. And I think, Matt, that's kind of what you were saying, but also I think for me a lot of this came back when we first started the conversation was this group. So a broad strategy is forming that multidisciplinary group. What does that group look like? Or are there two groups, are there three groups? Is there a group looking at the here and now contracts, a group looking at the ideal design?
A couple things I need to facilitate. So this is becoming a longer conversation than we thought it would be. Is it okay? Is it an important conversation? And okay to steal a few minutes from the end of the meeting? Is that okay? All right. Because number one, you want to decide, is this do we need to hash this out now? Okay. Secondly, I think the question Libby raised is a good one. We did talk about it earlier today, but everybody might not have been completely clear on it. You did decide to clarify your goal by saying your real goal is that by the end of, by fall of 2021, you want a set of definitive recommendations that give you all options with the goal of sustainability for solid waste, right? And then you recognize that creating a sustainability office and also establishing a multidisciplinary group were two key strategies to get to that goal, okay? Because your question was important, and I just wanted to make sure, you're clear with that? You're good with that? That's really the way you want to frame your goal. Your goal is not forming the group. That's a strategy to get to
That's what I was trying to say.
a broader. Okay, so that was clear to me. I just wanted to make sure it was clear to your colleagues. Okay.
And maybe at the time, maybe the best thing is to say, form a group that looks at, ideal.
Wide ranging.
So when I'm thinking that that's your goal, and because I am seeing some confused looks, I think I'm not the only one in the room who might be a little
It
confused.
might not be forming a group, it might be hiring a consultant to present or hiring multiple consultants, whatever it is, to present the options.
Would that be the next step of how you would implement it?
Well,
We went back and forth.
Right.
yeah, but so in other words, your broad strategy is this one, totally get it. I want to make sure we are doing two things. Capturing what your concerns were, okay? The whole business of don't be limited by where you are now. But also something that's going to be moving you down the field toward that goal. You see what I'm saying?
See if
Okay.
this helps.
Chuck,
What you're looking for is thought leadership, right, in this area.
ask-
Is that one way of,
Exactly.
To
saying,
your
hey,
point, we were a little skeptical that the people you think about
are going to have all the
that
information.
exist out there. So we'd rather talk to the people that have thought about this the way we have and find out where they are in their process. Not thought about the way, but have done this thing about, changing the dynamic between the producer and the user.
Well, there's in Seattle, there's municipalities that are, way ahead. They sort better, they compost, whatever. So there's a lot of examples of
we don't,
I just want to articulate what the strategy is. But am I insisting on that too much? I mean, I think that's what you want to accomplish today.
I do think that we sort of made the assumption, we could have taken a very easy route out and say that our strategy is to form a multidisciplinary.
And to create with these marching orders.
And I think that there's a little bit of this is with these two, that there's an assumption that is a clear strategy.
But we're thinking deeper than that.
And we just, we wanted to set that group up as not just, we just think, I think we feel it's more important than just kind of doing things the way we've always done them. I suppose that's it. That's the sort of the place we want to set is we may not be doing things the way we've always done them, with the way we form the group, the way we come up with ideas, the way we come up with solutions. So.
I don't know if this is appropriate because it would be offline, but if I'd be willing to sit down with Rita and Greg to have a little more thoughtful discussion about this and bring some ideas back to this group. That's kind of outside the process.
What we're worried about is the psychology of previous investment. Once you put,
Yes.
it's a big fancy word.
Yeah.
Once you put a lot of time into something, then you're gonna go down that path no matter what.
Mm.
And it can happen all the way along the process. So what you're trying to say is, how do we avoid that?
So I'll Google that. How do I
So-
avoid the?
Psychology of previous
Right,
investment.
yeah.
And I think for us that this, I like that, looked at the fact that we have time because the contract's expiring in 5 years. We'll be satisfied that we've looked at the solutions available and it removes waste options from the conversation. So
I hear
it sounded great.
And it is. I mean, I follow you, absolutely. I want to try to find a way to capture that in. All right, so what I heard Jim's process suggestion was that you three offline from this meeting are going to revisit this and bring back to the group something more concrete or more,
Just a couple of ways we would, if anyone has any suggestions, but I think, yeah, we could try and figure out a way to articulate what we.
and if, with your permission, I'm going to capture Chuck's thought about thought leadership that you may want to somehow incorporate into that thinking. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, like that.
Okay. So is the group okay with that?
I'm still kind of confused about outline, but maybe I just need to.
Go ahead, Libby. What do you need clarification?
Okay, so as you all know, I'm very much the, okay, so what do we really actually want to do?
What are we going to do next?
So I'm sort of stuck on what do we really actually want to do? And I'm sort of struggling with who's doing the envisioning of the ideal, or is the who later?
Libby, hold on. You may be able to take yourself off that hook for a minute. Jim is, I think the group has acknowledged that what they're trying to articulate is not yet clear to the group. We're not yet finalized. Not yet finalized, right?
Okay.
So what Jim is suggesting, instead of us going, very late for
Yeah,
this, which we probably can't,
We'll do
you
later.
three are gonna go offline and they're gonna confab about it again.
Okay.
And then bring back something,
Mindful
the-
of everybody's comments.
and is that okay?
Yes.
So, don't be confused yet because they know that you are, okay? Does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay, all right. But really, Chuck and Janet, make sure they nail that down, right? Okay, you don't want that to go off into the black hole of space. Okay, great. Housing.
We're
Okay,
gonna do
move
this
forward. Jim and Rita, you're all right?
3 minutes.
Okay.
3 minutes.
No, just do what you need to do.
You guys hear me out?
I don't think anyone needs to run it too, right? You said you didn't.
I'm not running.
Okay.
Anywhere. Treadmill. So we have 3 goals. We kind of scapegoated out, but it just made sense. Your second goal here is our first goal in every strategy in every single
I
one.
know,
Establish collaborative, fact-based public process.
yeah, which could apply to all of
It,
these.
it really does.
Yeah.
And so we kind of, that's our first goal in all of our strategies and all of the goals.
Does your audience know what you mean by fact-based public process?
You got it in the fact-based.
Fact-based,
What do you think about? you
I
got
mean,
it in
no,
the
Well, it's the same
fact-based.
thing here,
I mean,
you can't envision it without understanding what the options and things are. The same thing here, you can't have a public process if you don't know, you don't have some options, if you don't, and you can't base it on people saying, I think it's whatever.
oh,
You have to
I
be
know
able
what it
to,
is.
yeah,
Studies.
Yep.
you have to be able to say, here are the actual facts.
Yep.
But also, if people don't think it's a problem, how do you have a program
Right.
to convince them like they don't think it's a problem?
right, right,
Yeah.
Yep. And so to give them almost something to
And
react
if they
to.
don't think it's
Yeah.
not just the labor, but if they don't think it's a problem, then you give them facts to say,
Say,
okay.
here's why it is a problem.
That's what I'm saying.
There's everybody.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yep,
I want to see.
yes, you don't let it be a free-for-all.
Right, that's the employee housing, the goal.
Yep.
And so the second one was to, again, collaborate, again, fact-based, but strategy and outreach to town employees.
Yeah,
But that was for the unions, correct?
Yes.
So the second was union-based, to be proactive, to reach out to the unions and not to go and bargain, but to go talk to them about, pretty much what we're going to do with this. Am I getting that right?
or to perceive how they see it, or do
Exactly.
you already know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly. But the reason strategies in that, we didn't want to say that we're bargaining because that means all of a sudden we're different. We're gonna get something for this.
Yeah,
This isn't something that you should really get something for. This is something the town needs to do
Yeah.
because every other employee in the island does it. So we have to be able to say, here's what we're gonna do, here's why we're gonna do it, here's how it's not gonna harm you, in fact, it's gonna help you. You know, so we have to have
But
that
involving them
strategy,
in that.
and then say, okay, how can we do this? You know, what's the, you know, like we have to, it should be, you know, and not go and involve them, and maybe we can tweak it and change it, but our goal is to be able to hire employees, you know, pay them a little bit less than the other people, it's still a fair wage, blah, 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 here's why it's fair.
Gotcha.
All right, okay.
Because we were looking at our threats to try to mitigate it, so that's
Yes.
why,
Yep.
that was one of our strategies,
Yep.
mainly to mitigate the.
Again, early outreach. Yep.
And so that's the second one. Goal number 3 was the safe harbor, achieving that. The first strategy is the same. Second one, we went, it was 3 of us, then Don came in, and we were all over the place, came to joint examination, review existing potential initiatives to encourage, you know, achieving safe harbor. It's a lot of pretty words. We might have to talk about what that means, but we really went all the way around.
We don't have time with that.
Because this is 80% AMI, right? And shower list and lottery. We looked at trying to get, I have a cottage, right? And I have somebody who's in there who's really close to that 80%. And I give a deal and all this stuff, but it's not on the shy list. So we're like, how to do that? And the more we talked about, Don said, it's probably never going to get 80% or under. It's probably going to go in our goal number 1, 80 to 150. So we're trying to figure that out. But you know, looking at this, right, you're kind of trying to take advantage of the initiatives, the fee waivers, spreading it out, zoning, right? Is there a way to do joint examination with planning, with, help me out here if I'm not explaining it correctly, everybody involved, not the public
Planning,
process.
water, anyone, any fees that we would change, taxes, maybe there's tax breaks if it's a year-round house or something, you know, this, what are all the different ways that we do it now, if we do it at all, and we could do it going forward? That would encourage people to have housing, you know, not become Airbnb housing that is putting more pressure on us. How can housing be used, you know, for town employees and for regular employees?
So you said something interesting at the end. The only way to really get safe harbor, realistically, you thought, is to do bigger projects. We're not going to be able to get there
For the
with,
shy numbers that.
for shy, right? 2 here, 1 there, and 1 there.
So you went round and round with this. Did you as a group, including Dawn, reach a consensus on that this was the best way? Or do you still have question marks about this? About whether this is your broad strategy? Or did you finalize it?
I'd say yes. We
Okay.
did go around and round about it, and that's where we ended up.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of different aspects, and I would question whether it has to always be large scale projects if we do the stems right. We might be able to get people to work through housing in Nantucket to do water in the house or whatever, if they have enough incentive to do that. So I don't know, you know, we just have to look at it,
Yeah.
so.
So that's why you should joint examination.
Yeah.
Well, because we need other groups that know more about it than us.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's not under our purview.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything to add, others, to that? Does it sound like a good,
That's a hard one.
it is, yeah, complicated, a lot of moving parts.
It's a moving
Yeah.
target.
Yeah. Okay. You did it, I think, well, with the exception of this one over here, which we'll nail down soon.
Meeting invitation for next Wednesday.
Okay, all right. So you have your 6 goals, you have your broad strategies, and you are now ready and poised to move off with Janet and Chuck to get into, as you say, this is now the mud pie, right? This is the mud pie part of it, as you get into the specific action items. Okay, how did you do today? Evaluate today's session for me. What went well? What could have been done differently?
I felt like I knew what we were doing
I
at
would
all
say,
times.
exactly, I think we're a little more proficient in it.
Okay, yeah. I was able to, put some priorities.
And we're really aligned.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I
kind
think
of fun,
so.
I can kind of predict what we're gonna say is
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's very cool.
I'm gonna throw some curveballs.
That must feel good.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, so we're gonna wrap that up, and I just wanna say thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
involving me so far. Thank you. I hope you're
You're there with the firm.
I hope you're clapping. That's true, that's how I feel. It's like, yeah, in a way I do. I mean, but the clapping should be for you. You did all the heavy lifting. And I have no doubt that you're gonna do this, that you're gonna finish it. I think it's great. Feel free to use me as a resource anytime you want. Both you two and, you know, if you want, just what's your thought about this? If you're looking at process questions or anything, happy to do that.
Meeting
All right? So,
Time,
All right.
next meeting.
yeah, so now you're gonna do your calendar check? Okay.